Next on KQED Newsroom, what's really at stake in the stalled BART negotiations? And should transit workers be barred from going on strike? The Chief Justice of the California Supreme Court breaking new ground. She shares her judicial perspective and weighs in on political gridlock in Washington.
There needs to be action, not just check and balance. And I think that's when the parties have to start discussing to coming together.
Plus, why growing numbers of parents are opting out of vaccines for their children and what that means for public health.
A measles outbreak really is more a matter of when and not whether if we don't increase our vaccination rates.
Good evening and welcome to the debut of KQED Newsroom. I'm Thuy Vu. The big story in the Bay Area all week has been the threat of transit strikes. BART workers have walked off the job.
Hundreds of thousands of frustrated commuters scrambled this morning to find alternative ways to get to work.
So I'm trying to figure out how to get to class. My class starts at 9 o'clock.
I hope the union gets a fair shake, and I hope they get it done soon. And I hope management gets it together.
I think the BART workers make a very good salary and have very good benefits, and I think they're somewhat greedy.
The Transbay bus terminal in San Francisco was bustling with commuters from the East Bay.
No contract, no peace.
Workers picketed at BART stations around the Bay Area. The BART walkout comes just 2 days after AC transit workers stepped away from a strike once Governor Brown ordered an investigation.
And tonight we'll dig deep on this subject, covering the intersections of various topics that have converged to make this story so compelling, from the shifting power of unions to the growing debate over banning transit strikes. And for analysis, we're joined by Deborah Saunders, San Francisco Chronicle columnist; Carla Marinucci, San Francisco Chronicle senior political writer; and Tom Vakar, KTVU consumer editor. Tom, I want to begin with you. You've been covering the talks day in and day out. What are the latest developments, and how did this situation deteriorate so badly?
I think it deteriorated so badly because both sides had great expectations for what they wanted, and they were so far apart that there was never a chance for them to actually meet. I think this thing was dead on arrival the minute they started, and even though there were certain concessions made, the reality of the situation was that they were so far apart that it was impossible for them to get together.
Well, and they had a presser just late this evening, just within the half hour, and basically to say that nothing has changed.
Basically what the union said was, look, if we'll take the money that we've agreed on and all of that stuff, but what we want you to do is allow these other issues, these work rules issues and some of these other issues to be arbitrated, and we'll just live with whatever happens. And BART basically responded, look, that's exactly why we broke this thing up yesterday. You didn't want to do that then, and we didn't want to do it then, and we're not going to do it now, and they're on strike and they're going to stay there.
Tom, the political pressure here on the unions is just, I mean, it's been amazing. The anger, the public anger, when you look at the Facebook pages and every place else, how much more can the unions take on this in terms of pressure? Don't they have to, in a lot of respects, come into the 21st century when it comes to things about work rules, when you're talking about emailing people with their schedules and so forth? I think the public is looking at this, and the politicians, and saying, somebody's got to move on this.
Well, this is what happens when two parties paint themselves into corners they can't get out of. The unions are very strident in what they want. BART is very strident in what it wants. And the unions have actually blinked about 6 times, 3 times on countering themselves and 3 times on saying they were going to strike and then not striking. So they're in a corner, they're trying to get out. BART knows that it has them in a corner, but BART's going to get itself in a corner here very quickly as the anger spreads from the unions in a few days to BART. And then at that point in time, other forces will come to work. The legislature, the business community. You think the business community in downtown San Francisco is going to put up with this during the holiday shopping?
knows?
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, this really is just like the Tea Party shutting down the government in Washington. Everybody looks at the Tea Party and Ted Cruz and they say, you're crazy. You're not going to defund Obamacare by doing this. And finally, reality hits, and that happens. And then what happens the next day in the Bay Area? You've got the same thing happening with the unions. Everybody knows they can't win this. I was at the Commonwealth Club Monday night, and I polled the audience, not exactly a conservative hotbed, and said, who do you side with, management or labor? 9 out of 10 people management.
That's right.
1 out of people have no sympathy.
Overwhelming on
And see, isn't that interesting? So what impact do you think this will have in these increasing calls for a ban on transit
Look,
strikes?
I think Assembly candidate Steve Glazer out in the East Bay has really hit a nerve with his call for banning transit strikes. He's out there and he's getting signatures, electronic signatures on this. So
and this is
far,
coming from a Democrat,
that's
we have
right.
to point out,
and
not
an
a
advisor
Republican.
to Jerry Brown, by the way, a longtime advisor to Jerry Brown. Right now, you're in the Bay Area. We're overwhelmingly Democratic and lots of labor support. You're not seeing any of the legislators really coming forward yet. But as you said, I mean, look, the rubber's hitting the road on this.
Let's talk about what's happening here. We know that the BART workers are paid more than most of the people who ride the trains. We know that they're highly paid. Chronicle did a study and they found that they were really highly paid. They pay $92 a month in health care. Most people would kill for that.
They don't pay for their
pensions. They don't put a dime into their pensions. And they're trying to, and the people of, I think a lot of people in this area, by the way, a lot of these tech workers, they're not really that labor friendly. And they look at what's going on with this strike and they say, you know, you don't think you work for us, do you? You think we work for you.
And
people are angry.
Exactly, Deborah. I'm wondering if this may be the time where people say, you know, the power of labor, enough already. I mean, when you're looking at the working people out there who are suffering.
Did you feel like this is the last stand, Tom? By the way?
I don't know.
You know, the unions thinking that at a time when the power of unions is shifting and severely diminishing, do you get the sense that to them, the SEIU president said, this is a street fight. It's almost like this is it. We've got to stand up and show that we still have some power left.
I think they see that way, but look what they're walking away from. I mean, you got to understand, it's not like they're walking away from a route here. 3% a year, 12% over 4 years. They pay 9.5% of their health care costs. They pay 1%, 2%, 3%, 4% into their own pension funds. And then they'd have to trade off some work rules, which they are loath to do. But it's not as though they don't have power. It's not as though there isn't going to still be a very good living to be made working at BART. So before we start, tolling the death of the unions, recognize that what they're walking away from is a pretty good package in the eyes of most people.
Now, Tom, the question is, BART management keeps saying, put this before your rank and file and let them vote on it. What do you think happens? Does the rank and file say, yes, this is a good deal? Or are they that entrenched, sort of like Ted Cruz and Mike and Senator Lee from Utah with the Tea Party
the strike
thing?
hurts them too.
Well, remember, go just across the street to AC Transit, which is represented by ATU, and in that case, 2 contract settlements suggested by the leadership were turned down by the rank and file. There's no guarantee that if it goes to the rank and file, they're going to vote for it. Maybe large numbers of them will, as did the AC Transit thing, but there's absolutely no guarantee that they're going to do this, and that would create even greater anger on the part of the people who actually own this thing, the public, that they're not able to use it because of this fight.
I think we know that BART management, too, has made some mistakes in this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all the way along. But the fact is, you're starting to see these political calls, the ban on transit strikes, and in San Jose, where you've got Mayor Chuck Reed saying, pension reform, look, maybe we can't get the legislature to do this. Let's take this to the ballot and see what the voters think. If that's going to be the strategy, then labor unions have got to probably recalculate where they're going on some of these fights.
And just as with the Tea Party in Washington, there were a lot of Republicans telling the Tea Party people, don't do this, defund Obamacare, it won't work. Maybe you'll start to see some other of the labor unions saying, don't do this to us, because you never know what happens. Once this thing gets rolling, more could happen. And look at New York doesn't allow transit workers to strike.
That's right.
I mean, this is very liberal in Washington.
Right.
So it's not as though this has never happened before someplace else.
Well, the other thing is this. You have to remember this, though. What has caused unions to come into existence in the first place might keep them going, and that is when people overreach too far and they anger the workers to the point that they're really angry. Now, maybe the unions are overstepping here, but there's a very good reason why there's unions, and that's because when employers go uncontrolled, very often the result is that the employee gets abused. So there's a place for unions. They just have to figure out what the proper place is.
A lot coming out of this story and a lot more coming out of it next week as well. Thank you all for being here. Tom Bakar, Deborah Saunders, and Carla Marinucci. You can follow our continuing coverage of this story at kqednews.org. We've been feeling the impact of gridlock, from transit strikes to the recent federal government shutdown. Next, we talk with someone who must listen to both sides of an argument in the state court system. The Chief Justice of the California Supreme Court, Tani Cantil-Sakauye, a Republican, brings a unique perspective to the bench. She's the daughter of Filipino-Portuguese farm workers and was a former blackjack dealer. In her nearly 3 years as the state's top judge, she has weathered severe budget cuts and a revolt by a band of unhappy lower court judges. She's also taken a special interest in the role courts can play in helping at-risk youth. Scott Shafer has our interview.
Chief, welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure, Scott. Thank you.
This has been quite a week for our country and for the Bay Area. We've had a shutdown, week 2 of the shutdown in Washington. What do you make of the seeming intractability of the partisan divide and the inability to come together for what seems to be the best of the country?
I think it's the best and worst of a civics lesson. This is your check and balance in action. However, there needs to be action, not just check and balance. And I think that's when the parties have to start discussing to coming together and thinking about this as a long-term solution.
Here in California, of course, the courts have seen about a 65% loss of their state funding. I think you got a little bit of that money back in this current year. What impact has that had on justice in California?
It's undermined justice. It's also contributed to a two-tier system of justice. What it has done is made your day in court unattainable. When closing courts and reducing hours, we're basically denying justice across the state.
And who suffers most?
I would say primarily low-income, middle-income businesses trying to resolve their disputes in an orderly way. Those who can will use other private alternatives to resolve their disputes. But those of us who need to go to the court, who don't have those kinds of resources, find ourselves getting, I think, frankly, a second system of justice.
This week, the U.S. Supreme Court rejected the governor's appeal of caps that have been put on prison population in California. The governor saying if we release any more inmates, it's going to threaten public safety potentially. Were you surprised at all that the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, wasn't more sympathetic to those arguments?
No, I'm not surprised. California is under incredible change with more resentencing, a different kind of resentencing, with more parolees in county jail and on the streets than in the prisons, with courts having to deal with a split sentence, with Prop 36 passed by the voters, where certain type of three-strike offenders are entitled to be resentenced. So we're looking at a sea change in criminal justice in California, and the cap is part of that. But we've known about this cap for some time now.
I know that one issue you've been very involved and concerned about is juvenile justice in California. Tell us a little bit about why you feel that should be such a high priority.
A child who is suspended in school has 3 times a chance to have contact with the juvenile justice system. And once in the juvenile justice system, they're out of school, they're disconnected, and they have an even greater chance of going into the adult criminal justice system. And so I have instituted convened groups that we can address the issue.
When you were first named to the state Supreme Court by Governor Schwarzenegger, a lot was made of the fact that you were a Filipina-American and the first Filipina-American Chief Justice in the U.S. What did you make of all that? What do you make of it when you hear yourself described that way?
Well, I'll say in the beginning, it sort of startled me because I've been on the bench 20 years before I went to the Supreme Court. And I've always been Filipina, Portuguese, American, and I've always been female. And so you get sort of used to that over the years. And so when I walk into a room or I'm interacting with a group of new people, it's not necessarily what's on my mind as to how they perceive me. But so when there was that statewide recognition, it reawakened old memories of starting out being the diverse
person in the group. And it awakened memories of experiences of my parents and parallel experiences of different immigrant communities in California.
How do you think that influences the way you view the issues and the people that come before you?
I think most definitely have been of a minority party, being female in an otherwise previously male-dominated profession. It certainly opens my eyes to the bigger picture of what's going out there. I think my lenses take in a little bit more having been part of those communities.
And the court also is very diverse, the Supreme Court, but the court system in California is still about 68% male. It's becoming more diverse, but not nearly as much so as the state Supreme Court is. What difference does it make?
Well, I think it makes a big difference. First of all, I think for the public to have confidence and trust in our public institutions, that they need to know that they have access to those, not only to appear, for example, in court, but also to be a part of the court if they choose to be part of the decision makers. And it's true, the population of judges doesn't reflect the ethnic population of California, nowhere near. And so you're right, we have a long way to go to reflect California's diversity.
Quick question about the initiative system in California, because the same-sex marriage, Proposition 8, was before your court, before you got there, and since you've been there. And one of the things that happened during that period of time is that you wrote an opinion that was unanimous, saying that if you're a proponent of a ballot measure and the governor and the attorney general don't want to defend it, that you have standing to defend it in court. And yet the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court said no, they didn't have standing. Where do you think that leaves the initiative system in California?
I think that it leaves the initiative system in California still intact, because our decision still is controlling for the state of California in terms of standing in that unusual circumstance. Of course, I have to say I read the dissent as authored by Justice Anthony Kennedy very closely and with many cheers, understanding our initiative process in California that you alluded to is so different from initiative processes across the country. We're unique in California, and in California, the Supreme Court is the final and the only review of an initiative measure.
Which some would argue should change.
That's right. Many would argue should change.
Yeah. Before I let you go, I know that when you were a young woman, you were a waitress at one point, and you were also a card dealer.
That's right.
And I brought with me today a deck of cards. And I'm going to see, you dealt blackjack, I think.
Did, but not for 30 years.
Not for 30 years.
Let's see.
I remember you told me you could hit me with a card from across the room when I taught you. Let's see your chops here.
Let's see. Okay. Well, you know, it's been a while, and I'm usually on a felt table. So let's just say I'm making my excuses now. So, you know, you sort of angle the deck down, and you flick it. You flick it. So you hit it. It's been a while, but give me a couple hours and I can aim it.
Stick to the briefs.
Sorry, it's been a while.
Okay.
But there you go.
Good, lucky number. Chief Justice, thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Scott, as usual.
Now a look at a health trend that has medical experts worried. In Marin County, increasing numbers of parents are saying no to vaccines for their children. So many parents are now doing this that health experts are warning it's putting the entire community at risk for highly contagious and potentially debilitating diseases.
Sit down, you can draw a picture and Mommy will do this.
When Nina Jones was a child, she came to pediatrician Dr. Erin Heath for all her checkups. Today, she's come full circle, bringing her own son Leland to see Dr. Heath at Tamalpais Pediatrics in Greenbrae. Leland is here for his 2-year checkup and a discussion about immunizations.
Do you want him to have a flu vaccine? I honestly think it's a good idea. No?
No,
okay.
I don't do flu.
Nina knows she's a little behind on Leland's shots. The CDC's recommended vaccine schedule for children from birth through age 6 includes a series of shots protecting against 14 different diseases. It also lays out a timeline for getting those shots, with multiple doses often bundled together in the same visit.
And chickenpox, what do you want to do about that?
I'm really curious about chickenpox. This is the thing. I had chickenpox.
Yeah. So here's how
It was no big deal.
Some normal, healthy kids get bad infections from chickenpox.
Nina is on the fence about 2 shots in particular, for chickenpox, also known as varicella, and for MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella.
So think about it. I will.
Marin County is seeing a steady rise in the number of parents choosing to delay or skip vaccines altogether. In California, by law, children must be immunized against 9 diseases, including polio, chickenpox, and measles, before entering kindergarten. But parents can get around the law by signing a personal belief exemption. Since 2004, the number of such exemptions in Marin County has doubled to nearly 8%, the highest opt-out rate in the Bay Area and one of the highest in the state.
Here's the outbreak of pertussis this year.
Pertussis, or whooping cough, is on the rise this year. This trend alarms health officials like Dr. Matt Willis and Sharon Forkel. They see a correlation between the rise in personal belief exemptions and a dangerous dip in herd immunity, a kind of firebreak which guards a community against the rapid spread of contagious diseases.
We have many schools in Marin County where the vaccination rates are below the level that we need for herd immunity. We've had outbreaks of varicella, we've had outbreaks of pertussis. A measles outbreak really is more a matter of when and not whether if we don't increase our vaccination rates.
Oh, Johan. Hi.
Dr. Nelson Branco finds these statistics troubling. As managing partner of Tamalpais Pediatrics, he decided to draw a line in the sand when it comes to the vaccine for measles to protect his tiniest patients.
Measles is dangerous. Infants under 1 can't be immunized against measles. We're on track to have more cases of measles in the United States this year than we've had in many, many years. In the 2008 outbreak in San Diego, there were 11 children who were ill with measles. 4 of them were exposed in their doctor's waiting room. We decided as a practice that we were going to require all of the patients in our practice to receive the MMR vaccine by age 2, or we would ask them to seek care somewhere else.
The move goes against the recommendations of his own pediatric academy, but Branco felt he needed to break ranks to show parents how strongly he feels about the vaccine.
I've taken care of children in the intensive care unit with whooping cough and with meningitis and who've had measles and after having measles have had brain damage. Most children do just fine with vaccines and are protected against these diseases, which fortunately are not common but would become very common if we weren't vaccinating against them.
We have 33% of parents opting out.
This fall, Willis and Forkel sent a survey to 3,000 parents of kindergartners, asking them specific questions about their feelings on vaccines. They're hoping the results will help them better understand what's behind the parental decision to opt out.
And the majority of our citizens with personal belief exemptions are actually not choosing to opt out of all vaccines, but only some vaccines.
For some people, they don't like necessarily being told to vaccinate their kids.
That sentiment was evident when we visited the Tiburon home of Maureen Block.
Everything in it is organic, including the chocolate chips.
Looking around your kitchen, I mean, this is sort of a study in healthy living here. All the stuff you have lined up here on your windowsill.
Minerals, liver support. I have a water filter with extra filters on it and a filter under the sink.
Maureen is very concerned about toxins in both food and the environment, and for the past 10 years, she's held the firm belief that vaccines contain toxic components.
The actual antigen itself isn't dangerous. It's all the adjunctives or the other things added into the vaccine that cause an unknown reaction with the immune system.
Block says her skepticism began after her son Nathaniel developed signs of autism at 18 months old.
You believe that your son's autism was linked in some ways to the vaccinations he got.
Autism is a pervasive developmental delay, and I believe that my son's pervasive developmental delay would have not been as severe or profound had he not been vaccinated.
I have a lot of sympathy for people who have a child with autism, and I can understand they're trying to find an answer for it. But the link between vaccines and autism is probably one of the best studied issues around vaccination.
It's interesting that we have such a well-educated community, and with 20+ large studies, including one recent study from the CDC that demonstrates without a doubt that autism and vaccination do not correlate in any way, that there are still people who hold that belief.
So he'll do the polio shot today.
Dr. Brankel already discusses the benefits and risks of vaccines with parents on a daily basis. He expects those conversations to increase in January. That's when a new state law takes effect requiring parents to provide proof they've talked with a medical provider before asking for a personal belief exemption.
Okay, you're all done.
We're hoping the new law will increase vaccination uptake and better protect our community. By providing providers with the information from our survey about what parents are citing as their specific concerns, that they'll be prepared for those conversations. And we hope that after those conversations, people will feel more secure about making the right decision to vaccinate their children.
All done. Good job, sweetie. Yay!
And finally, a quick look ahead at some of the stories we're watching next week. And joining me is senior correspondent Scott Shafer to cut through all that noise. What are you keeping your eye on?
Hi, Twee. Well, of course, we're going to be keeping a close eye on the BART strike over the weekend and into next week, and as long as it goes on, paying particularly close attention to the economic fallout and the political fallout. What impact is it having on business and also Democratic politicians and their allies in labor? Is there going to be some kind of a split there? We'll keep a close eye on that. Also, next week is the last day on the job for the state's top political watchdog, Ann Ravel, who chairs the Fair Political Practices Commission, is stepping down to go to Washington. She was appointed by President Obama to the Fair Elections Federal Election Commission.
Big move for her.
Big move for her, and she made a real name for herself in Sacramento, going after that Arizona group that sent $11 million to try to defeat Prop 30 just before the election last November. Governor Brown's proposition to increase taxes. She went to court to force them to disclose the real source of that, so she's going to bring some of that to Washington as well.
Which is also stepping into a political minefield, right, with the Supreme Court decision on campaign contributions.
Absolutely. Citizens United has really opened the floodgates. There's another case now before the Supreme Court, and so she'll be presiding over that situation at the FEC.
Also, you're going to focus on something south of the border as well.
South of the border, the California Report looking at another story that speaks to the increasing ties between Mexico and California. An $80 million state-of-the-art terminal is being built at the Tijuana airport. And when you land in Tijuana, you'll be able to walk over a pedestrian bridge right into San Diego instead of going through the border and waiting for hours in your car. They're hoping it's going to increase tourism and business ties between the U.S. and Mexico. There's already a lot of that at the border, and they're hoping that this terminal, when it's built and finished at the end of next year, is really going to seal the deal.
And how long has that been in the works? Probably for a while.
They have been talking about this for many, many years, probably the better part of a decade. There were disagreements over who was going to pay for it and how. It's going to be privately funded, but there's now real excitement about it. Of course, some controversy as well, especially as we take up immigration reform potentially in Washington and issues of border security and all those things.
All right, well, much happening, and I know you're going to be on top of it all, Scott. Thank you.
Yeah, not just me, the whole team.
That's true. It takes a village, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Well, and before we leave you, a quick note. As we continue to shape and define KQED Newsroom, we'd like to invite you to be our partners in this process. Please share your feedback and suggestions by going to kqednews.org. We look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much for joining us on this debut show of KQED Newsroom. I'm Twee Vu.
And I'm Scott Shafer. Good night.